Hello again. Today in Pronunciation Matters, we are going to deal with establishing priorities when teaching. It is true that no matter the level of our students as regards proficiency in speaking the language, from the very beginning, they start using all the features of pronunciation. The point is that according to their goals and according to their level of proficiency, we can establish certain priorities as regards which features to focus upon for them to improve little by little. First, we're going to decide which accent we are going to teach our students. And as regards that, I could say that it should have wide currency so that it is useful for our students when they want to communicate, because this accent should be widely and readily understood by people all over the world. It should also be adequately described in textbooks because since we are non-native speakers of English who teach the language, we have also learned the features of pronunciation. So we might have every now and then some doubts or difficulties, in which case we can resort to reliable sources to put things correct. It should be recorded in ample recorded material, which should be available for the learner, because in that case, learners will be able to receive input that will enhance their receptive skills, and this improvement in their receptive skills will derive in the long run in an improvement in their productive skills. And something I want to add is that the accent should be the accent the teacher speaks, because we cannot describe features that we don't produce ourselves. Producing the correct features ourselves enhances learners' motivation to value the pronunciation features of the accent we are teaching. As regards the goals of our learners, they will help us to take some decisions as regards teaching pronunciation. If the learners live in the native speaker, in the target language community, where they are immersed in the English-speaking environment, they might be aiming at native-like speaker accent, because it's a way in which they will be accepted in the community they interact with. Besides, they have a lot of opportunities to interact with the accent and to receive immediate feedback so as to check whether they are producing the correct version or not. In case students don't live in the target language community, they learn English as a foreign language, the aim could be to achieve comfortable intelligibility for native speaker listeners, because they are going to interact with English-speaking people. The point is that depending on the aim of this learning, if students want to interact in academic conferences or in business, they might be more interested in producing accurate language, because a good pronunciation assures the educational level of the speaker. If the learner just wants to learn the language for tourism, for example, it is enough to learn English as a lingua franca, which is an English which has international intelligibility, but without paying too much attention to gross foreign accent caused by the influence of the mother tongue in the production of the target language. The factors that affect pronunciation learning that we as teachers need to take into consideration is, of course, native language, because the learner's native language will transfer many features into the new language they are learning. And besides, we can anticipate possible difficulties learners might have if we are well aware of similarities and differences. Age is another factor. Many people claim that learners learn pronunciation better if they start studying English at an early stage. This is true up to a certain point, because if it is true that they acquire it more easily because they are developing both their target language and their mother tongue phonological concepts. It is also true that adult people can study in detail and understand articulations better. Nevertheless, if we start early, we are almost certain that learners will improve their pronunciation and will be quite accurate. The amount of exposure students have to the target language is also important. The more they listen to the target language, the more likely they are to and perceive similarities and differences between the mother tongue and the target language, and the more possibilities they have to imitate correct pronunciation. Phonetic ability is also important because learners sometimes are capable of perceiving similarities and differences of various various sounds. Some other times they can imitate the sound without difficulty, and sometimes they can do both things. This will very much influence the learning of pronunciation. The attitude and identity students have towards the target language community and the language itself is also important, because if they perceive it as valuable, they will be likely to intend to produce correct language. Motivation and concern for good pronunciation are essential for learners to make an effort to put their pronunciation and their sounds right. Collins Amias and Ken Worthy have described three categories of errors which we are going to focus according to the goal our learners have. The first category, which is high priority for both groups of phoneticians, describes the errors that might lead to a breakdown in intelligibility. And so these errors should be focused from the very beginning and need to be put right no matter the level of the students. Second category, or low priority, are errors which might give rise to irritation or amusement, and which might be not well accepted by native speakers. In this case, we need to pinpoint the errors, show learners that they are making a mistake, and try to help them to put things right, but without penalizing their errors. And category 3, which are errors which might give rise to irritation or amusement, but don't necessarily interfere with communication, are considered optional attention. Kenworthy describes them as errors that the native speakers are used to, so they will immediately identify the real sound the non-native speaker is trying to produce. They might exist in some regional accents or varieties of English, so they are widely understood by native speakers. The feature is close enough to the native feature, so in that case the listener can perceive the sound as the intended sound instead of the real sound produced. And it is because of this that relatively few words are kept apart by the feature of or sound. That is, if we don't teach these sounds, if the learner is not aware of the mistake he or she is making, they will communicate all the same. Professor John Wells makes a list of prioritizing recommendations for the teaching of English pronunciation in English as a foreign language or English as an international language. And he suggests that we should concentrate on the matters that most impede intelligibility, coinciding with a category 1 or high priority in the previous chart. But he puts emphasis on the fact that we should encourage fluency and confidence. That is, our feedback should be encouraging and not really considering mistakes as sins. He also suggests that we should not neglect the need to interact with native speakers, but at the same time that we should educate native speakers to be more tolerant towards non-native speakers' mistakes. And of course, he highlights the fact that we should exploit the findings of contrastive analysis to help pinpoint likely areas of difficulty. And this is what we are going to start doing in our next video next week. Thank you very much.